Total revenue and grants amounted to 65.4 billion, 11% of GDP, compared with a target of 67.3 billion, 11.4% of GDP, and the 49.1 billion, 10.7% of GDP recorded in the corresponding period in 2021. The outturn for total revenue and grants represents a shortfall of 2.8% compared to the period's target and year-on-year growth of 33.2%. The shortfall in revenue stemmed from the less robust performance recorded in all the revenue handles for the period. Mr. Speaker, domestic revenue for the period amounted to 64.6 billion, 10.9% of GDP, falling below the target of 66.5 billion, 11.2% of GDP by 2.9%. The outturn, however, represents a year-on-year growth of 34% and constituted 98.8% of revenue and grants. Mr. Speaker, total expenditure, including arrears, clearance, and discrepancies for the period amounted to 109.4 billion, 18.5% of GDP, above the target of 103.9 billion, 17.6% of GDP by 5.2%. Compensation of employees amounted to 27.2 billion Ghana cedis, 4.6% of GDP, 2.9% below the budgetary provision of 27.9 billion, 4.7% of GDP. The wage bill constituted 91.3% of the total compensation and amounted to 24.7 billion.